Okay, welcome to the explainer. Now, what if I told you that the one thing we're all supposed to want, happiness, is actually a trap? Seriously, that it's not just a misguided goal, but maybe even unethical? Well, today we're jumping headfirst into the wild, provocative philosophy of Slavoj Žižek to figure out why he thinks our obsession with happiness is a huge mistake.
All right, let's just start with his central claim right up front. Happiness is, for me, an unethical category. I mean, that's a pretty shocking statement, right? It cuts against basically everything we're taught to value. But what on earth does he actually mean by this?
It's a fair question, because this idea, it's not just some self-help goal. For a lot of us, it's a foundational principle. But for Žižek, this is where we go wrong. He calls it a serious ideological deviation. Now, when he says ideology, he doesn't just mean politics. He's talking about those hidden beliefs that shape our reality without us even realizing it. And he argues that this whole pursuit of happiness thing is a fundamental error in how we think a meaningful life should work.
So what's the real problem here? Well, for Žižek, happiness is a very conformist category. Just think about it for a second. The constant pressure to perform happiness on social media, or the entire wellness industry that's built on selling you this state of blissful satisfaction. It's all about fitting in, right? About avoiding struggle. And as we're about to see, he believes our deepest, most authentic drives, well, they aren't interested in that kind of comfort at all. And this is where Žižek brings in his favorite tool, psychoanalysis. He argues that if we really look at how our desires work, we find a pretty surprising truth. He says the whole point of psychoanalysis is that human beings, we don't actually want or desire happiness. And you know what? He thinks that's a good thing. So, how could it possibly be true that we don't really want to be happy? It sounds crazy. But to make his case, Žižek points to a really powerful counterexample. The whole experience of creative suffering, where people find profound meaning, not in comfort, but in struggle. Now, check out this contrast because it's key. Think about a scientist or an artist or anyone who's just deep in a project they're passionate about. Žižek calls this state a wonderful fever. It's all-consuming, it's driven, and crucially, you are absolutely ready to suffer for it. This state has absolutely nothing to do with the passive, easy comfort of just being happy. And this really nails the idea with a specific example. Žižek brings up the early researchers of quantum physics or radiation. I mean, these people were so absorbed in their quest for discovery that they were literally willing to risk their own lives. In that state of intense purpose, the simple conformist goal of personal happiness, it just doesn't enter the frame. It's not even a consideration. Okay, so this brings us to the central psychoanalytic theory that holds his entire argument together. It's a concept called the paradox of desire, and it explains the hidden logic behind why we so often choose struggle over satisfaction. So, the paradox is basically this. As human beings, we often don't truly want to get the thing we're consciously chasing. Our real desire isn't in the destination, it's in the journey, the pursuit itself. Žižek puts it about as bluntly as possible. I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, right? But he has this classic analogy he uses to show exactly how this strange logic works in the real world. He uses what he calls the traditional male chauvinist scenario, his words, not mine, as a kind of thought experiment to reveal the hidden mechanics of our desires. So here's the setup. You've got a man in a cold, unhappy marriage. He's got a mistress who he dreams about constantly. He's absolutely convinced that his wife is the only thing, the only obstacle standing in the way of his true happiness. But then, his wife actually leaves, the obstacle is gone, and suddenly, poof, he discovers his desire for the mistress is gone too. So what happened? Why? And here it is, the punchline. The psychoanalytic insight is that the man's real desire was never to actually be with the mistress. His desire was structured around keeping her as a fantasy, an object to dream about. And that was only possible while his wife was still in the picture, creating that distance. So, the crucial point is this. The wife wasn't the obstacle to his desire. She was the very thing that made his desire possible in the first place. Her presence created the distance, the fantasy that fueled his passion. The moment you remove the obstacle, you destroy the desire itself. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's just one weird story. But Žižek insists this isn't some isolated case. He believes this little analogy reveals a universal truth about how all of our desires function. Yeah, he states it very clearly. I claim that this is how things function. This paradoxical structure where we thrive on the chase more than we do on the prize. He says this is fundamental to who we are as people.
So to kind of sum it all up, Zizek's whole argument is that desire is not about having, it's about wanting. It's kept alive by the chase, by the distance, by the very obstacles we think we want to get rid of. And so to actually achieve the goal, to finally become happy, is often to kill the very engine that drove us and gave our lives meaning in the first place.
And, this leaves us with a really profound and kind of challenging question. If the endless pursuit of happiness, the kind we see on our social feeds and sold to us by wellness gurus, if that's just a conformist trap that totally misunderstands what it means to be human, then what is a life well lived? If not simple happiness, what is truly worth pursuing? And that's the thought I'll leave you with.